next speaker. Once again, we're very lucky to have this next speaker. I'm going to introduce Kate Brown. Kate is currently a secondary assistant head, but she's also a network leader for Women Ed in the South East. She has got a huge, diverse range of experience. She is initially an English teacher, but she's also been for 10 years in leadership roles, and she's worked in a range of leadership roles within that framework. She's also likes to coach women to help them to get into leadership. And she, being an English teacher, but also because I'm humanities too, she also believes passionately in the power of words and the power of stories to inspire, something I wholeheartedly agree with. So I'm going to hand over for Kate, who's going to talk about a little bit of a step back now. So not just the application process and the interview and knowing when you're right, but more importantly, knowing what is the right school for you and what is the right role for you, so that you're going to be happy and you're going to flourish in that role. Kate, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Can I just check that you can see my slides? Has that come through? Fabulous. Thanks, Elaine. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I want to start really by echoing a comment that was made by Safian, that know them and know yourself. And I think that really gives me a lovely way into what I'm going to be talking about. And this is really sort of underpinning all of the speeches that we've had so far today. It's making sure that you are finding the right place for you. The only thing I can compare searching for a job to is really finding a house, because you will have a very personal experience, and I guess it's being acutely aware that everyone's journey into different school settings is going to be different, and you do need to know yourself. As Rachel's already said, there's lots of experience that underpins what I'm going to be talking about today, and in a whole variety of selective and non-selective settings, and I've had the pleasure of working with a number of individuals. And the reason I want to highlight that is to come back to that know yourself point. So the first thing I always do when I'm considering any form of new opportunity is really to take that step back and to think, right, who am I at this point? What is it that I'm prioritizing? What am I looking for? What do I value? And it's important to sort of ask those reflective questions. We as teachers and educationalists are sort of natural born individuals when it comes to reflection, and certainly getting us to think really deeply about what we value is always a really good place to start when you're thinking, okay, where do I belong? Because looking for a new role is all about belonging. We talk about that with the young people that we support, but it's as important when we're thinking about ourselves and our own leadership journey. And when you're aware of sort of what you're looking for in terms of what you value, so Rachel mentioned some of the things that I value about, you know, prioritising individuals' well-being. I am hugely passionate about empowering young women. So these core values in terms of who I am as an educator very much drive and shape when I'm looking for opportunities. And so that's always the first thing that I think about. And then I look to think, okay, well, then how does that translate into leadership? What type of skills am I maybe strong at and I have particular strengths in? And where maybe am I looking for developmental opportunities? And what setting might afford me that? So what school, what facility, what organisation is going to be aligned with my values, my strengths, and the things that I want to really lean into more? One of the things you can do if you're sat there thinking, well, I have no real idea what I sort of am looking for or value or the types of skills that I'm good at, because it can be quite difficult to be self-reflective and critical and to really identify those perhaps potential development needs and gaps in knowledge. Doing things like a 360-degree feedback can be really helpful. They can be completely brutal in all honesty, but it can be really helpful in ensuring that people who really know you are able to help guide you in identifying where your professional strengths are and where perhaps you've got a few blind spots or there are missed opportunities. but also leaning into organisations like Women Ed, and thinking about the way in which you can make best use of coaching and mentoring opportunities, and really just seeking advice. You know, the Step Up community, the organisations that we are all part of, the core value that they all share is a desire and wanting to help others. So please do lean into that and take advantage. Lots of the speakers this evening have talked about the importance of research, whether it be thinking about preparing for interview, preparing for tasks, finding the right school, and it can be very easy to just naturally deviate towards a school's website and to think, right, well, that's surely going to give me everything I need to know. It may give you a source of information, but there are a lot more nuanced things that I would encourage you to consider when you're looking for that right role. You want to think about, what does the school prioritise? What are its strategic goals? Do you want to be on that journey? Are there any things that you need to think about in terms of challenges perhaps that you might encounter in joining that particular community? So looking at or asking to see things like the school's development plan, I've never been afraid, and I would encourage you to as well, to have a really open discussion with a school community and saying, great, okay, well, you know, these are the things that I value and this is what I know I can bring to the role, but how does that align with your vision? And what is it that you're prioritising? Where do you see your school going, and how can I perhaps assist with that? What do you want from me? And really gaining a deeper understanding of that can be incredibly helpful. In addition to that, understanding the systems and structures. So it's been spoken about this evening, thinking about how your leadership role might fit into the broader school structure, but better understanding things like the board of governance. Is it part of a multi-academy trust? And those broader school structures can be really important. And this is a key one. Understanding the decision-making hierarchy and thinking about, okay, I want to come in as a enthusiastic leader and I want to have impact. How will I go about doing that? Who do I need to ensure that I'm working with? Because one of the nuances of perhaps leadership is that if you're joining, in particular, I would argue, a senior team, you are one prong, one sprog on the wheel. And actually, the only way in which things will move forward is if you are working collaboratively. And so it's understanding how you will sit within that wider team and where those responsibilities lie beyond your own individual role. Also asking questions and being quite bold in asking questions about things like staffing can be incredibly revealing and give you a real insight into the broader culture of an organisation. So understanding things like staff turnover, thinking about what measures are put in place to better understand staff well-being. What has the school done to actually ensure that they're actively acting on feedback as well? You know, lots of schools will seek feedback through questionnaires, annual questionnaires, parental surveys, student voice, but what are they actually doing with that information? So don't be afraid to ask the question, you know, so could you tell me a little bit about what sources of information you've sought over the year? Have you got feedback? Who from? And what did you do with that? What impact has that information had on your decision-making process? You know, it's a two-way process. It comes back to the idea of it being a bit like buying a house. It has to be right for you as much as you have to be right for that community. And it's only when those two things align that you get something really exciting in leadership. Now, finance, this can be a challenge in lots of settings, and just being aware of the financial health of the school is really important. If you are on that trajectory up and assuming that you want to perhaps step into a head teacher or an executive head role, really having a good understanding of the financial health of a setting can be important. You know, our good friends at the ESFA can often be a support in helping us move things forward financially, but it's great if you do have financial independence as a school. And once again, good financial health will enable a setting to really embrace opportunities. And sometimes you might have to think a bit creatively if you don't perhaps have a great financial budget. So, you know, leaning into partnerships and understanding, okay, if the school perhaps does have budgetary constraints and you've got all these amazing ideas as a leader and you want to drive things forward and you've got these priorities and the school values X, Y, and Z, How will you achieve that, perhaps without monetary investment? And really sort of digging a little bit deeper there as well can be quite important. It's been mentioned before, go and see the school, but go and see the school when it is alive. And what I mean by that is, if you can, prioritise a visit during the day. It's, you know, so easy when we have such busy professional lives to actually think, no, I'll go after school. I can nip over at the end of the day and have a chat with some of the teachers. But you don't get that same real sense of the community in action. And it's so different when the students are there. They are the lifeblood of the school. So really do, if you can, embrace opportunities to go and visit, have a look round, ask the questions, meet the young people themselves. So really making sure as much as possible that you are asking probing questions. Be bold. Remember that this is an important step for you, and you need investment in as much as you investing in that school community. So look at a range of sources, consider things beyond just what is on the website, and remember that actually you can tell a lot from things like what the school publishes on its social media channels, the types of non-statutory policies that schools might have. I'm always delighted whenever I see that a school has a menopause policy, for example, because that tells me that actually they really value well-being and they're not just paying lip service to it. But also make sure that you are going to see the school and embracing those opportunities to meet the people that hopefully you'll be working with. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Kate. It was really inspiring. Just more food for thought about what we should be doing when we're getting the right place for us. There's some really beautiful tips there, like, you know, ask them about the school development plan. I've never thought about that by going there, but, you know, whether that aligns with what you can bring, you know, how can you support that moving forward? And there's other tips as well to find out there's more nuanced information about the school that you wish to apply to. So thank you so much for that. But I can generally see a theme running out throughout all of our speakers about knowing yourself, knowing the place that you want to go to, you know, and being really well prepared, but also taking the leap and don't expect yourself to be fully ready. I think